Welcome back to Jewels of the Trade. Today, I'll be telling you everything you need to know about blue jade. We'll be paying extra attention today to Guatemalan Jadeite jade, so be sure to post all of your jade questions in the chat or the comments if you're watching this after the fact. This video is helpful for jade shoppers as well as sellers and appraisers wanting to learn more about this niche topic. There are two gemstones gemologically called jade in the USA: jadeite jade or fei choi and nephrite jade. While chemically different, both are incredibly tough gemstones that are famously green and come in a range of other colors. I have a number of videos on my channel about both jades, as well as playlists for jadeite jade and nephrite jade for your way down the rabbit hole. Many gemstones pose as jade on the internet, but have different attributes and wearability, another topic that's been discussed extensively on this channel. Blue jades that don't sound real, but actually are, include Vonsen blue jade and Big Sur Vicente blue, which are both nephrite jades from California. We'll talk more about the various blue jade origins later on, so please reference the timestamps in the video description. Guatemalan Jadeite jade is the most commercially significant blue jade, so this video will focus heavily on that topic. Most of the origins of blue jade can be distinguished from each other visually. Let's talk about some of the more well-known colors of Guatemalan blue jade. This INTARSIA pendant from Luki Lapidary features notable colors of Guatemalan Jadeite jade. As you can see, Guatemalan blue can be light, medium, or dark and can vary in greenness, as it's often a gray-green blue. Color-specific terms like princessa and luna are not common in the trade. For instance, these words are not commonly used by jewelry stores, and they're not words that would appear on a GIA report. But some, not all but some, Guatemalan jade sellers use them, so it's good to know they exist. Apple usually refers to a wide range of green color in the greater jade trade, but some Guatemalan jade sellers might use this term differently, as seen here. And they may call the color shown here as apple manzana, which is Spanish for apple. Being trade terms, color terminology can easily vary from seller to seller, so always ask for clarification when shopping, and of course, shop with a seller you trust. While Guatemalan jade does come in many more colors than this pendant is a great example of the range of opaque Guatemalan blue jades and might help you identify jade with a Guatemalan origin when you see it. Blue jade can come from Myanmar or Burma as well. It's important to mention that some might consider certain shades of lavender to be blue jade. For instance, lavender, which can be sort of like a pink lavender or a blue lavender, can sort of vary in how it's referred to. So a bluer lavender jade might be called blue, might be called lavender. But typically when we say Burmese blue, we're referring to a true blue, which really is rarely seen. At this time, it's very unusual to see blue and blue-green jade in American jewelry stores at all. If you do see blue jade in a US jewelry store, it's probably blue cat's eye jade from Washington, which is a nephrite, which I featured in a previous video. So there's a link to that below if you want to check that out. Or you might see Guatemalan blue jadeite jade or fei choi in a jewelry store as well. This may change in the next few years as higher qualities of Guatemalan blue jadeite jade continue to hit the market. Vonsen blue jade is a blue nephrite jade that can sometimes have this beautiful sky blue color. However, it is known to have poor structure and is not always ideal for carving. It's very opaque and is not actively being mined, so it's hard to come across in the trade. This stone is really more of a novelty for collectors and carvers, as it's not very valuable and has little to no commercial significance. By the way, who all is here? If you're watching this live, say hi in the chat and let me know your favorite color of jade. I see there's some activity in the chat. Hello, welcome everybody. It's so great to see you. Dake, hi, I'm so glad that you're here. Kim, I'm just thrilled that you're here. This is going to be awesome. Dake commented that it was a smart design. I assume you're referring to the Intarsia, which is just like A work of art. Absolutely incredible. Jeff from Mason K is here. Pawan, you're not too late. You're just in time. And Chris from Mason K is also here. I'm just so excited that everyone is here and in the chat. So let me know any questions that you have about jade, and let me know your favorite color of jade. Let's go ahead and move on. Jadeite jade from Clear Creek, California, and Nephrite jade from Big Sur, California can have bluish tones. Big Sur has a blue nephrite called Vicente Blue. Divers will actually source Big Sur nephrite from the ocean and sometimes from the beaches of Monterey County. This is a major reason for the Monterey Bay Jade Festival being held in California every June. At the Fall Denver Gem Shows this year, Shane Zach of Freshwater Jade had some Wyoming blue and green nephrite jade, which is crazy rare. Blue Wyoming jade is not super well documented and may be one of the rarest, if not the rarest, of the Wyoming nephrite colors. The color does not revert like some blue nephrites do. Shane told me that it's excellent for carving. I personally had never seen Wyoming blue nephrite until literally last week. So this was very exciting for me. Washington nephrite can be blue to blue-green. Most notably, some Washington blue nephrite is considered gem quality and can exhibit chatoyancy, also known as the cat's eye effect. I already have a detailed video on this topic. Link below if you'd like to learn more about cat's eye jade. Russia is known to produce both blue nephrite jade and jadeite jade. Russia has been a major source of nephrite jade for China for many years, most notably white nephrite jade, which is known to command very high prices in fine qualities. This is a blue and green jadeite jade from the Caucasia region of Russia, and it's not the best example of blue jadeite jade from Russia, but I wanted to show it because I have it, I love it, and it does technically have blue in it. Just know that there are better examples than this, though Russia is not a commercially significant source of blue jadeite jade. We've just covered most of the smaller sources of blue jade. I don't personally have examples of true blue jadeite jade from Myanmar or Japan, as blue jades from these locales are rarely seen in jewelry stores. So the focus of today's video will be blue jadeite jade from Guatemala. A huge thank you to the members of the Jewels of the Trade Discord who shared photos and videos of their Guatemalan jade collections. Be sure to join to share photos of your jade collection as well. The link is in the video description. This video is from Offie, who has shared a number of excellent videos to the server. Jadeite jade in Mesoamerica was culturally significant to multiple civilizations, including the Olmec, Maya, and Aztecs. Being the durable material it is, jade was used for tools, weapons, ceremonial relics, and even currency, as well as beads and, in some cases, grills. I have multiple videos that dive deeper into the history of Guatemalan jade, links below, including an interview with Mary Lou Reininger, an archaeologist who rediscovered the source of Guatemalan jade in the 1970s with her husband, Jay Reininger. Thank you, Erica, for sharing these jades from your collection in the JOT Discord. I also wanted to take a moment to tell you guys about Lotus Gemology's new book, Broken Bangle. I just started reading it and I already love it. It's about the history of jade nomenclature. So if you're ever confused about like the whole like stone of the kidneys thing, like where's the word nephrite come from and fei choi and all these different things, a lot of those questions are actually answered in this beautiful high quality book with just incredible images of fine jadeite jade. So definitely check this out. The Lotus Gemology website has an order form that you can fill out. They have a limited number though, so I highly recommend ordering sooner rather than later. Wow, we have so much activity in the chat. Monique says it's also pretty. Elizabeth, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. MR's favorite color of jade is blue-green. Pawan says, I have a very weird question. What is it? Pawan, I need to know. What's your weird question? I'm so excited. Dake says there's also a blue variety of nephrite from Chiemo, Xinjiang. Not the sky blue. It's a little gray. Now that I would love to see. And if anybody has a picture of that, could you please share it in the Jewels of the Trade Discord? Because that sounds absolutely amazing. Michael the Unique loves the Olmec blue jade. Absolutely love that. Alan loves Guatemalan. Hi, Alan. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, Dake says, I feel like I've only seen green Mesoamerican artifacts. Do they not like the blue ones? They do. So it actually depends on the civilization. So different peoples in different eras preferred different colors. So that's actually something, if you read Gerard Helfrich's book, Stone of Kings in Search of the Lost Jade of the Maya, he actually dives into the people of times past and like which colors they actually preferred as a civilization. So all of that information is in that book if you'd like to learn more. In Lotus Gemology's new book, Broken Bangle, the authors explained that the Nahuatl word for jade is chalchihuitl, which is what they call a native bird, the quetzal, which is Guatemala's national bird. Interestingly enough, the word fei choi, a term used by the Chinese for centuries and presently by gemologists all over the world to refer to jadeite jade, literally means red-green and refers to a kingfisher bird because of the color of its plumage. Thank you, Jaded Guy, for sharing these videos from your collection in the Jot Discord. A huge thank you to Mason K. Jade for sending me multiple examples of gem quality Guatemalan jade for this video. You can shop with them through your local independent jeweler or direct via the link in the video description. The most common origin of jadeite jade that you'll see in a U.S. jewelry store is Myanmar, where the vast majority of jadeite jade on the market has been mined. Guatemala is the second most significant jadeite jade producing country, but has only recently commanded the attention of the fine jewelry industry due to its relatively recent production of fine, high translucency blue-green jades. Guatemalan jade is a jadeite jade, a polycrystalline aggregate and a pyroxene comprised of primarily one or any combination of the following minerals: jadeite, omphacite, and cosmochlor. The mineral jadeite itself is allochromatic, meaning it's colorless when pure, but gains color from impurities. For instance, manganese or titanium can cause jadeite jade to be lavender. Blue Guatemalan jadeite jade is believed to be slightly chemically different from blue Burmese jadeite jade due to a higher omphacite content in the Guatemalan material. At this time, more research is needed, but so far it does appear that the particular blue-green hue of Guatemalan jadeite jade, along with its white albite inclusions, can make a Guatemalan blue jade easily distinguishable from a Burmese blue jade to the trained eye. I would go so far as to say that all of the Guatemalan jade pieces in this video are textbook Guatemalan color and probably wouldn't be confused with Burmese blue jade. Guatemalan jadeite jade is held to the same quality standards as any other jadeite jade and is valued according to color, translucency, texture, cut, shape, and size. True color is more valuable than mixed or intermediate colors, such as the gray blue-green of Guatemalan jade, which is why Guatemalan material has a reputation for being more affordable. While we have seen fine, true green Guatemalan jade, it's still pretty rare, especially compared to the blue-greens, such as this piece here. This disc pendant has great translucency, but what keeps the price down is actually color. Let's see what the chat has to say. All right. Dake, it's the very reason Guatemalan material often gets cut so thin when they're mounted so that they don't show the gray. They will look somewhat Burmese. Yes. And what I've seen too in a lot of the boulders of Guatemalan material is it'll be mostly kind of a blue-gray, and then you'll have such a thin vein of green running through it. And so when they go to cut cabs out of that green material, a lot of times they'll cut them as what we call hollow cabs, where it looks beautiful from the top, but when you turn it over, it's concave on the inside, where they've carved out the other color or the impurities. So yes, Dake, that is a fantastic point. Peter, welcome. I'm so glad that you made it. Let's see. True blue and black jade becomes imperial. Oh, Pawan says, we all know darker materials become lighter when cut into thinner items. So does dark blue Guatemalan jade become true blue and black jade becomes imperial when cut into tiny cabs or bangles? No, not necessarily. It does depend on the original boulder. It's going to be very, very case by case. And the best person to sort of like rely on the expertise of for this is a carver. A carver is really going to know what they're doing when it comes to how like a rough material is going to turn into a cab, a carving, a bead, or a bangle. So it's not that the color necessarily changes, but yes, being cut very thin may give a false impression of translucency by making it look lighter and more translucent than it really is. And in fact, like if you cut it too thin, it's not going to be quite as stable. So it's actually kind of sort of a bad thing, which is why we usually recommend to buy open back jewelry or you know, you could source a loose stone and then have it mounted by a jeweler that you trust, or of course, just shop with a seller that you trust. But yes, these are excellent, excellent points. I will say though, black jade would have to be cut really thin for it to look green, because I have seen where people have taken a boulder and then they've cut it in like slices in varying thickness, and it has to be super, 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 super thin for the black jade to really look green most of the time. Wow, you guys are so active in the chat. There's so much to catch up on. Dave says, but if you look at those pieces from the side through the thickness, you'll still see the gray. Yes, it's a quick way to tell them apart from Burmese. I will say there is a quality to the Guatemalan jade, and it's this kind of gray tone that does make it look distinct from Burmese. Yes, this is absolutely correct. Oh, Dake says it's sad when they dig behind the calves. The turtle shells, that's a funny thing to call it. Yeah, so what we call a hollow cab, where they've made it concave on the underside and it's very hard to tell from the top. It is very, very sad, and it's very deceptive, because then sellers might sell it for a much higher value than what it's actually worth. So if you are a customer and you're shopping for a mounted piece of jade, like if it's in a ring, make sure that it's open underneath so that you can turn the ring upside down and look into it, and make sure that it's not a hollow cab, and to make sure that it's not foil backed, to make sure that they haven't painted it underneath. Anytime you have like solid metal underneath the stone, that's not necessarily bad, but it's like not a great sign. What are the inclusions that, okay, David Adams wants to know, what are the inclusions that appear in the Guatemalan material? Looks like snowflakes. That would be albite. Albite is a crystal, and in these cases, it is white. So usually, in the case of Guatemalan, you will see albite crystals that look like white inclusions that we usually do actually call snowflake. And it seems to be, I'm not entirely sure about this, but it does seem to be specific to Guatemalan material. It doesn't seem to be as common in Burmese. And even when Burmese has white inclusions, they're still like a little bit different. So somebody who's worked a lot with Guatemalan jade can typically identify the origin as Guatemalan using these inclusions. Peter Adams says, I cut a piece of lavender jade. One piece almost lost its color. The other one came out lavender. That can absolutely happen. Yeah, definitely. Yes. This is what I always say, like relying on the expertise of a cutter or a seller who has had a lot of experience with this type of thing, because basing your assessment on just photos and videos alone on the internet can sometimes be a little bit misleading. So trust your cutter or trust your seller, whoever that you're working with. If they have a good reputation, if you've worked with them before and they can offer a natural guarantee, definitely lean on their expertise. Michael buys rough and just bought 3 pounds from Justin. He gave me some random pieces, but they look great. That's awesome. That makes me so happy. I love when people buy jade. It's like my favorite thing. Is Guatemalan ice jade a thing? Yes. But I did want to sort of talk about this a little bit, because GIA put out a fantastic article. I'm going to add it to the description after this video, talking about what they call Guatemalan ice jade. And when we say ice jade in the trade, we mean colorless, translucent jadeite jade, or fei choi, which looks a lot like moonstone. That typically comes from Burma. The Guatemalan ice jade in the paper that GIA wrote is a very, very, very light blue that they've cut thin so that you can see the translucency. So I have not personally seen ice jade of the caliber that we're accustomed to coming from Burma, coming from Guatemala yet. But there is literature calling a light blue jade Guatemalan ice jade, if that offers any clarification. Kim says it is a thing and she owns some. Kim, will you please share a photo in the Discord? I would love to see it. The photos in the GIA article are also fantastic, but be sure to like make sure and read the thickness, because they're kind of thin, and the ones that aren't as thin are bluer. They're not as colorless as like Burmese ice jade is. Let's see. Dake has seen a bead necklace, Guatemalan jade, that's nearly colorless and icy. So Dake has seen. I have not seen this. This must be extremely rare, like crazy, crazy rare. But that is very exciting to know. And I will say, I have heard rumors of much, much higher quality Guatemalan material out on the market that I haven't seen. I don't see all the jade. I'm so sorry, you guys. But if you guys ever see something that's like really rare or incredible, definitely let me know. I absolutely want to know about it. Michael says, I have blue snowflake from Guatemala. And also, funny thing, I have Siberian nephrite that also has almost the same look of snowflakes. That is really interesting. There have been cases where I have seen nephrite that looks just like jadeite jade, and vice versa, which is not common. Usually they can be distinguished visually, but every once in a while you'll find a piece that really, really stumps people. Kim says she'll share her ice jade when she gets home from Denver. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Okay, let's talk about Guatemalan jadeite jade identification. Identifying natural jade, as explained in many of my previous videos, may often require gemological testing due to the prevalence of simulants and treatments on the market. At this time, I have not yet seen simulants posing as blue Guatemalan jade because the blue-green color is not as valuable as colors such as true green, lavender, and ice. Some sellers may accidentally sell gems such as dianite and larimar as blue jade, but this is likely not on purpose, and those gems can be easily distinguished from jadeite jade and nephrite jade based on visual examination. The jade shown in this video is not treated. However, jadeite jade treatment is extremely common, can be difficult to detect, and is unfortunately often sold as natural, aka untreated, which is why it's very important to shop with a trustworthy seller. Unsellably low quality jadeite jade is acid bleached and then impregnated with polymer, wax, or resin and often dyed to appear as high quality green or lavender jadeite jade. As far as treatments go, I have not yet seen low quality genuine jadeite jade treated to look like Guatemalan blue jade. However, that doesn't mean it doesn't or won't exist. Guatemalan blue jade just isn't quite valuable enough at this time to justify treatments, if I were to guess, but it's still important to buy Guatemalan jade from a seller that you trust. Mayan Mountain is a beloved seller of Guatemalan jade, and Mason K is now selling Guatemalan jade as well. Many of the Monterey Bay Jade Festival sellers also sell legit Guatemalan jade. Who's your favorite seller of Guatemalan jade? Let me know in the chat. And has anybody seen Mason K's new Guatemalan pieces on their website? If you have, let me know what you think of them. Let's check the chat, see what you guys are saying. Dake says Burmese has a mine that is famous for producing snowflake jadeite, but their snowflake tends to be more uniform and round. Yes, and in fact, if you guys read the recent Guatemalan jadeite jade article from GIA in Gems and Gemology, they do talk about this. So they explain that they explain the unique qualities of the white inclusions in the Guatemalan and how they're visually distinguished from Burmese. And this is something I've heard carvers talk about too, is that they can tell when they see it. There's a certain look that's Guatemalan, and I think if you've seen a lot of Guatemalan, then it's easier to identify. Is blue jade real jade? This is actually a very, very common question, so I wanted to be very clear. Yes, absolutely. This Guatemalan jade is genuine. Jadeite jade, also known as fei choy, and its blue color is natural. Some sellers may call any gemstone jade, so it's important to always clarify if it's jadeite jade, nephrite jade, or a non-jade such as quartz. How rare is blue jade? Gem quality jadeite jade is technically geologically rare in any color, and true blue jade, which is different from the gray-green blue jade shown here, is exceptionally rare. High translucency blue jadeite jade is still relatively new to the market and is rarely seen in jewelry stores. The symbolism behind blue jade is deeply connected to its Mesoamerican roots as the jade of the ancient Olmecs. You may have heard the term Olmec blue in reference to a particular range of blue hue in Guatemalan jade. The Olmecs used blue jadeite jade in rituals as a representation of water, and many Olmec artifacts were carved from blue jade. The history and culture surrounding blue jade lives on in museums such as Jade Maya in Guatemala. Should you check Guatemalan jade under a light? Many sellers shine a light on Guatemalan jadeite jade in their photos and videos, which reveals two main things to customers: internal fractures or lack thereof, and how the color will look in bright light, for instance, direct sunlight. It should be known that the flashlight can give some customers a false impression of color and translucency for that matter, as this is not an accurate representation of how the jade looks most of the time when being worn. This here is a great example of how a dark Guatemalan jade looks bluer and lighter under a flashlight. If the differences in lighting are not made clear to the customer, a customer may be disappointed in their purchase when they see their blue jade in person. If you're shopping for Guatemalan jade, don't be afraid to ask for videos under various lighting conditions. Also, I think a lot of sellers are not wrong to use the flashlight to demonstrate translucency. Just let it be known that it's usually a high powered flashlight. So it might give you a false sense of how translucent the jade actually is. The best way to really understand how translucent jade is, some people have suggested taking it outside into sunlight, which I agree with, but then also like just like moving an object behind it and seeing if you can see that object through the jade, especially if it's cut thin enough. If you can have a translucent jade, meaning it has like a really tight internal structure that's cut thicker and you won't be able to see through it, that doesn't mean that it's not translucent. But if you're dealing with like a B disc or a cab or something like that, being able to read through or being able to see through the stone is going to give you a really, really good idea of just how translucent it actually is. Let's take a look at the chat. Justin from Mayan Mountain is my go-to. You mean Jesse. Jesse from Mayan Mountain is Michael's go-to for buying rough Guatemalan. Mason K, this is correct. Mason K does not sell rough. Mason K does have amazing jewelry, as you said. It is all either loose or finished jewelry. But yes, Jesse at Mayan Mountain is a fantastic source for rough Guatemalan jade. Absolutely. For carvers, definitely check him out. Let's see. Abacus beads really show the fluorescence of jade. Let's talk about fluorescence for a second. So, a lot of YouTubers have demonstrated that a treated jade might fluoresce under a UV light, meaning that it illuminates in a different color from what it actually is. And they use this as a test to determine that the jade has been treated. However, like Dake says, natural jade can fluoresce a little. And maybe it's the jade, but a lot of times it's the beeswax coating. But when discussing the fluorescence of jade, just know that the UV light test is not a reliable test for determining treatment or lack of treatment because most treated jade won't fluoresce. So I think some customers might have treated jade, they shine a UV light, it doesn't fluoresce, they get the false impression that it's natural. But yes, this is I love the abacus beads. So abacus beads are what we showed that were like, they're like smushed. They're like smushed thinner beads. They're absolutely fabulous. Can I make a video? No, I can't make a video teaching you how to make the knots between the beads. I do not know how to do that. But I will say my husband did learn, and he used YouTube videos to learn how to knot the string on jade beads. And he said there are a ton of helpful resources on YouTube. So I highly recommend checking out those wonderful folks who've already created videos on this topic. Will it fluoresce if it has a lot of chromium? So in the case of ruby, like ruby will fluoresce if it has, is it chromium 3, like chromium plus 3? So an increase in chromium will increase the fluorescence of ruby. However, in jade, that is not the case. So typically when you have a higher chromium content in jade, it could be that chromium is replacing the aluminum in the crystal structure, or it could be the presence of cosmochlor in the aggregate. Will Guatemalan carvings coming from China with the, hold. Two genders, you are not too late. I am so glad that you're here. I'm glad you made it. Will Guatemalan carvings coming from China with, okay. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking here, but what I'm guessing you're asking is, can Guatemalan jade be carved in China? And the answer to that question is yes. Chromium is green. So in jade, chromium does increase green. So like if you have a whole bunch of chromium, then it'll get greener, greener, greener until it eventually gets black. So like black jade can also be caused by chromium. Black jade can be caused by chromium, iron, or graphite inclusions in the case of like gray jade especially. In jadeite jade, same thing with the green. Chromium or iron can cause an increase in greenness, but not every gemstone works that way. So in different gemstones, chromium will cause other colors. For instance, ruby is famously made red and will fluoresce because of its chromium. Gorgeous yellows. I see some gorgeous yellows around Guatemalan blue jadeite jade boulders. Is that yellow jade or something else? Yes, that's yellow jade. So yellow, orange, and red and brown are secondary colors of jadeite jade. So when the jade forms, its chemical composition will determine if it's blue, white, lavender, green, obviously. But then the yellow, orange, and red colors, those are from oxidization around the outside edge of the boulder. And what I do love about Guatemalan jade is the boulders, a lot of them that are found alluvially, when you cut into them, they have just this incredible gradient from blue to yellow. It is absolutely iconic. And if you go to like the Monterey Bay Jade Festival, or if you go somewhere where you see a lot of Guatemalan jade, you can absolutely see that like extremely Guatemalan unique look that's in those boulders. And yes, I love it. I absolutely love it. In fact, I have videos on this channel with examples of the yellow and blue Guatemalan jade. David Adams. Oh, well, you are very welcome. I'm happy to help. Guatemalan carvings may be trusted. Oh, will the Guatemalan carvings coming from China with those Chinese certificates, can they be trusted if the QR codes open on a website saying it's A grade? Possibly. Possibly. There are trustworthy Chinese labs. 1000%. The problem is when how do you like copies, like basically like when somebody makes a fake cert, fraudulent, like when fraudulent or like forged certificates are being sold with jade items. And that's a possibility. That could be like, you could have a forged certificate that looks like it's from a Chinese lab. You could have a forged certificate that looks like it's from an American lab. Like anybody can forge any certificate because they're trying to sell something as something that it's not, right? So this particular matter, in my opinion, comes down to trusting the seller. Do you trust the seller? Because labs, yes. I mean, a lab report is very important, and I think you can trust a good lab, but you also need to trust that the seller is offering you a legitimate lab report. Your recourse as a customer is that you can cross-reference the information on that lab report with the lab that issued it. So it's a little bit harder with Chinese labs because if you speak English and they don't, then, or, you know what I mean? Like it might be really, really hard to call them and cross-reference that information, but it is very great, very usable advice if you're shopping for jade that has like a GIA, AGL report or a Mason K report. Somebody who has a lab in the US that you can call that speaks English that you can talk to. So I don't know if that was really helpful, but if you join the Jewels of the Trade Discord, there is a lot of advice from shoppers regarding like the certificates and who can be trusted and kind of how to tell and how to find fakes and stuff like that. Yeah, Cosmichlor. So it's, yes, Cosmichlor is the chromium one, and then omphacite is the iron one. So in a jadeite jade boulder, an increased amount of omphacite means that it's going to have more iron, and an increased amount of Cosmichlor means that it's going to have more chromium. And then the jadeite like molecule can have substitutions with increased chromium or iron, but you have complex intermixing in a boulder of jadeite with jadeite with Cosmichlor or jadeite with omphacite. So I do have a video about that with Lotus Gemology where we discuss that complex intermixing. Highly recommend. It's called Jade for Gemologists, Fei Choi Explained. Good morning, Edward. I'm glad you found us. Hello, welcome. Oh, Dake, these situations where the certificate is real, but the picture is swapped for the fake piece, that's just hard to beat. Dake has had a lot of experience shopping for jade, and I'm sure he could provide some insight on some of the scams that people are running. Very, very interesting stuff. Fluoresces blue. Have you seen jade with inclusions? I've seen treated jade that fluoresces blue, but have you seen jade with inclusions that glow red under UV? I personally have not. I have never seen this. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'm very curious. And if anybody knows more about this, please let me know. Inclusions that glow red. It stands to reason because jade can have all kinds of inclusions. So if anybody knows about this, please tell me. Join the Discord. Leave it there. Yeah, Peter Adams says, if you're buying jade with a certificate, contact the company that provided the certificate. Yes. Ask if the cert is authentic. Yes. And compare the information that's on it. And this goes not just for jade. This goes for pearls. Anything that you're buying online, especially, cross-reference that information with the lab that issued the report. 1000%. Pawan, fun fact. Did you know there's an entire waterfall in Sri Lanka entirely made from translucent serpentine? No, but that's amazing. And I have to look up a picture. That is absolutely incredible. So let's talk about whether or not Guatemalan jade is durable. Jadeite jade and Nephrite jade are two of the toughest gemstones in the world, but each has a range of toughness, so not all jade is equal. In general, regarding well-cut and unfractured jades, higher translucency jadeite jades are tougher, meaning hard to break, than opaque jadeite jades. With that being said, color is not correlated with toughness, but translucency is. Some blue jade, if highly translucent and unfractured, can be very, very tough, particularly if it isn't cut super thin. Edward, what is Discord? Great question. Let me tell you all about it. If you look at the link in the video description, it has a link to the Jewels of the Trade Discord, which is basically like a group chat of jade lovers. So if you click that link, you can sign up to join the server where we catalog information by topic. For instance, we have a jadeite jade forum and a nephrite jade forum where we like basically keep track of like important articles, photos for identification, and other information, and shared images from people all over the world. Our Discord is a little different from like Reddit and Facebook because it's basically a bunch of jade researchers, sellers, carvers, shoppers, collectors, like a whole bunch of people that interact with jade in some way, and we all come together and we talk about our love of jade and we share accurate information about jade. So that's what the Discord is. And then there's Guatemalan blue jade. Oh, I don't know. In Guatemalan blue pieces, we sometimes see like a vein section of a deeper green color that's almost black, but bold green under flashlight. Are those omphacite veins in the jadeite? Maybe. Maybe. It might even depend boulder to boulder. I don't know that enough research has actually been done on this, but this is a question that I have as well. And so if anybody out there is doing research on jade and you have an answer to this question, please let us know. I'm hoping that with the increase in demand for Guatemalan jadeite jade, we do see more research because there's a lot of questions like these that I think need answers. So let's go ahead and move on. This is another video from a member of the Jewels of the Trade Discord. Thank you, Nico. If you want to learn more about Guatemalan jade, I highly recommend Lotus Gemology's book, Jade, A Gemologist's Guide, as well as Gerard Helfrich's book, Stone of Kings in Search of the Lost Jade of the Maya. There are also a number of Guatemalan jade videos on this channel, and you can learn more about its fascinating history and discovery at jademaya.com. And if you do get broken bangle, don't forget to let me know what you think. There's not very many copies of this. I can't remember how many. I want to say I heard 600, but I'm not actually sure. So if you are one of the lucky people that ends up buying one of these and you read it, I want all of your feedback. I want to hear everything that you think. A huge thank you to Mason K for sharing pieces of their inventory with me to share in this educational video. You can definitely check out their website. The link is below. And if you saw something in this video that you didn't see on their website, you can contact them directly. Chris at masonk.com. That's KRIS, short for Christina. And then, of course, they have an office in Colorado that you can call Monday through Friday, normal business hours, and you can talk to a real human person about your jade purchase. I also wanted to thank all of the members of the Jewels of the Trade Discord for sharing their photos and videos with me for this presentation. I hope to provide more content on Guatemalan jade in the future. So if you're watching this after the fact, please leave all of the questions that were left unanswered in the comment section.